Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about some big time games all around the place. Florida has a big time one that they don't win it. They're probably looking for a new coach here pretty soon. But a lot of things we'll talk about on Friday and we'll get into the weekend then. But week three whip around, we have a number of games I want to just touch on here pretty quickly as we get towards the end of this show. But let's go ahead and jump into this. And we'll start with a big time game that is going to go on in Memphis this upcoming weekend. Arkansas goes on the road at Memphis, favored by a touchdown and a hook here, over under at 62.5, a noon kickoff. This one's going to be really fun. There's no two ways about that. I think Arkansas, coming off a really tough loss to Ole Miss, heading into a very tough group of 16 when you talk about Memphis. This is a very talented team. Brendan Lewis comes in from Nevada at quarterback. A tough defense on the other side, only gave up 7 points a week ago to Troy. They're in a position where they can make a massive, massive win here and possibly put themselves in the CFP conversation along with Tulane, along with USF, and that would be a very fun American, no doubt about that. That would be a very fun conference down the stretch. Arkansas needs to win this one really badly. This is a nightmare of a schedule they got coming up, starting with Notre Dame, then SEC schedule that is really, really tough in a number of different ways. They probably need this one if they want to make a bowl game. At least in my eyes, I think they have a lot of tough games coming up, and I think they'll be able to get this one. I'm going to lean towards Arkansas in this football game. I see Memphis making it really, really close and making it a little bit uncomfortable for Arkansas, but I'll take Taylor Green to make one more play than Memphis does, and I'll say Arkansas wins this one at least by a little bit. Syracuse at Clemson. Clemson favored by 17.5 in this football game, so a lot of people will be on Syracuse. 55.5 to the over-under. Clemson got to try to regroup. Their coach is losing his mind at press conferences right now. He is kind of crashing out just a little bit. I understand part of it. I don't understand a lot of it. I think he's in a position where I think he's letting a couple of maybe Twitter, Instagram comments get to him just a little bit too much. He is not being fired. Nothing is going wrong as of right now. Well, things are going wrong, to be totally fair. But at the end of the day, he's not getting fired anytime soon. It could get pretty toxic pretty quickly if you lose this football game. I can promise you that. Syracuse has not played great this season. Now, last week they were able to roll over Colgate, so that's enough. But at the end of the day, they win this one. A lot of things change very quickly, including the way people talk about Clemson, not only this year, but moving forward the rest of the next couple of years. If I'm being totally honest, this is a very, very interesting game. Now, I think Clemson's going to win. I think they're going to be able to win this football game. I can't say confidently how they're going to do it because at the end of the day, I can't say much confidently about this football team right now, but I'll take Clemson to win this game. I'll take them to get a big-time win that they badly need right now. SMU at TCU, the battle for the DFW, a very, very fun game. TCU favored by 6.5, over-under at 64.5. This one's going to be really fun. TCU was able to beat up on UNC and Abilene Christian before they had a bye, I believe last week, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the week before Abilene Christian. But at the end of the day, SMU needs a big-time win. They will go 2-2 heading into the ACC, and they have a much tougher ACC schedule than they had last year, so they got a lot of stuff to figure out if they lose this football game. But they give up 440 in the air to Sawyer Robertson with two overtimes to be totally fair, but makes me really nervous about their ability to stop Josh Hoover in this TCU passing offense. So I think it's going to be a really fun game. I think they're going to go back and forth, but I like the TCU defense to make enough plays in this football game for Josh Hoover to be a special player in this football game the same way Sawyer Robertson was in week 2, and SMU falls. TCU gets a big-time win at home. Oregon State at Oregon. This one's going to be rough. This is going to be another layup on the way for Oregon to go to Penn State next week and, again, in a whiteout game, hopefully get a big-time win. This should be another one where you work out the kinks. Now, I really think they should lean on the run in this football game, take a little bit more off Dante's shoulders the way they did last week. Loved Ayer Hill. He makes play after play, a very, very electric player, and definitely a guy that should have openings in this football game, quite a few of them, frankly. So, Oregon, if they're going to be able to beat Penn State, I think they're going to need that run game quite a bit, at least next week. I think they're probably going to get it kind of broken in this week, at least more than they already have. They've done a great job throughout the early parts of the season. I think they win this one. I think they win it pretty comfortably, and they move forward with a lot of confidence going into a massive one in State College. Purdue on the road at number 24 Notre Dame. Notre Dame needs this one. I think we all understand that. They're 0-2 for the first time in quite some time. They obviously lose to pretty quality teams, two teams that could be in the playoff at the end of the year, but still a lot of things to figure out. No doubt about that, particularly with that defense. He should have an opening to figure some things out against Purdue, to be totally fair, but Purdue did put up a fight against USC just a little bit at the very least. But if Notre Dame can play clean football, I think they're going to be in really good shape. I think Notre Dame rolls in this football game. I think they get Jeremiah Love going, and they're at least have a little bit more confidence going into week 5 and beyond. This is still a good football team. They ran into two very good football teams. We'll have to see how this thing develops. Still a lot of time left for Notre Dame. North Carolina at UCF, very fun game, and a game that it looks like Bill Belichick is just calling them Central going forward, which fair enough, do your thing, but Bill Belichick looking for a second chance to get a solid non-con win this year. Obviously missed out on a big chance against TCU at home, but you go on the road to a UCF team that you can beat at the end of the day. You have the ability to get this one. UCF eked out a win over Jackson State in week 1, dominated in North Carolina A&T, but this offense could get going. Taven Jackson's starting to get a groove. They're kind of running a 2-quarterback system. Ja'Cory Brown, more of the runner, very talented runner. Jaden Nixon, the running back that came over from Western Michigan. They have a lot of juice in that backfield for UCF. For North Carolina, they got to get Gio Lopez going in this football game, and if you shut down the UCF run, you can do a lot of really special stuff. I tend to believe they won't. I think UCF wins this football game. I think Jaden Nixon runs all types of wild, and they're able to get a big-time win heading into their Big 12 slate. For North Carolina, they're probably trying to figure out a way they can go bowling after this football game. West Virginia at Kansas this upcoming weekend. Kansas favored by 13.5, over-under at 56.5. West Virginia coming off a really tough-fought win in overtime against Pitt. Kansas coming off a bye against Missouri that Jalen Daniels really playing confident football. Obviously lost that game to Missouri, but played pretty good football throughout that game, and he's absolutely a guy that if you have on the football field, you're going to have a good chance to win a lot of games this year. And West Virginia, we saw it throughout the early parts of the season. They want to run the football. Ty Edwards showed that last week with a great performance against Pitt. Kansas has given up 149 on the ground per game, so there's a moment here for West Virginia to find some openings early on, maybe get this game a little bit more on their pace rather than Kansas, which might be a little bit more frantic and up. And now West Virginia loves to play up pace, so it might just be a track meet both ways, but I do think Kansas is going to win this game. I think they have more reliable quarterback play. They have a quarterback that I know is going to be out there for the full game in Jalen Daniels, as long as he's fully healthy through the full game. But at the end of the day, I think Kansas gets a big-time win. I think they move into a position where probably aren't the top team in the Big 12, but firmly in that second tier that could make a run at the title. Michigan State at number 25, USC. USC favored by 17.5 in this game, over-under at 56.5. It's an 11 p.m. kick, so this is going to test a little bit of my strength on Saturday. But at the end of the day, Michigan State heads to L.A. They want a massive win. Under Jonathan Smith, they haven't gotten that big win yet. Aiden Childs has kind of flirted with big wins, has flirted with big moments, and then has kind of fallen short. They have the ability to do something pretty special in this game. Now, Jade Mayav on the other side, he wants to push the ball downfield. That's what USC does, and if they can slow that down, maybe you have a little bit of an opening in this game. But USC, like last week, they should be able to roll here. They should be able to get right, do a lot of really nice things, and continue to move forward with a very interesting campaign they're putting together. But I don't know. I think Aiden Childs has enough up his sleeves to make this thing close. I do think USC wins this football game. I think it's a close one down the stretch. I think USC coming back from being on the road, although it was at Purdue, a lot of travel involved in that. I think the offense is a lot more volatile than it has been the first couple of weeks, and I think Jonathan Smith does enough to keep this team in the game. I think Aiden Childs makes a couple of plays. I think they win the football game, but I don't think you feel super confident about USC going into a stretch where it's Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska. I can't say you're going to feel great about that team going into it. I do think they get a win, but I think Aiden Childs shows some people that he's a pretty special athlete on Saturday night. But a lot of really fun games this week. You know, there's the big-time ones, the 3 ranked matchups, the ones that are going to define the CFP race, and then there's some really interesting one. That Arkansas-Memphis game could end up being the game of the weekend. Very, very fun one over there in Memphis, and one that the Tigers win it. They are firmly in the mix right there with South Florida and Tulane for that G5 spot, and they're all in the same conference. And we'll talk about it all right after this. We'll get into my best bets. A number of games that we have already talked about, a couple of games that we haven't gotten into that we'll all talk about right after this, so stick with us.